205. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you. A little bit late right now, but better late than never, I guess. What we do today is some new stuff. We'll probably keep this episode short and sweet. You notice no music or anything like that. Nothing fancy. I just want to do the show, and we'll go from there. So hold on one second. Do one more thing, and then we'll talk about some articles that came out that are actually pretty good. Honestly, the new stuff I kind of want to get away from it, but it works. So why change what works, right? Let's see here. Let's share the screen. There you go. See the workings. All right, so let's go into the story. So keyword mapping. I did a topic on keyword clusters versus topic clusters. In this case, it's a keyword mapping spreadsheet. It just kind of, it's handy. The quote unquote white hat corporate SEO space has actually started talking about this stuff now. Michael from Surfer, Leo from Keyword Cupid. And a bunch of other people have talked about keyword mapping for quite some time, and now all of a sudden it's a popular and legitimate way to do business. And it's just a fancy name for setting up your pages and writing about the proper keywords and helping you bust out the topics versus the keywords, etc., or do your content outlines. So if you want to know more about that, just check out the other episodes that I did. And here you get Aleda Solis. You get her idea on what keyword mapping is, how she does it, and then the spreadsheet that goes along with it. Spreadsheet's actually really cool. If you don't want to do, you don't want to get something like Keyword Cupid, or you don't want to use the feature inside of Surfer, or those just aren't exactly 100% what you want, then going to the spreadsheet is kind of the de facto. I know a lot of people actually start off in the spreadsheet. Either way, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing it, and it'll help you build out your content calendars or build out a content brief for writers if you're ordering content, etc. So I would check this out. If you don't want the spreadsheet itself, obviously there's an example there she gives you, and it's in Google Drive. There's some different, I want to say, layouts that you can implement a ton. And for example, like if you're going into, let's say, her example here, it's product pages, categories. There's informational, transactional, navigational. That's the query intent. And then you have this patterns to target. And, that may be, I mean, like, it's good information, right? But at the end of the day, when you're doing e-commerce, for example, do you really need to do all that for each keyword? By default, you're going to do category name. It's going to go into by category name in the product online, and then maybe category name and site. And that's for the category pages, but you're not going to optimize for all of those specifically. And more to the point, like, you're going to optimize for headphones, buy headphones online, and buy headphones on your brand, like the example that they say here. So really, in her spreadsheet, I would say that probably 4 of those columns are probably not what you want. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad place to start, for sure, especially if you're actually talking about you're building a brand new site and e-com has never been into you. Then by all means, go and look at this and put that together. You can also do one of these, kind of changing that variation up. There's product categories or sub-product pages are in here. And let's see what else I got. Subcategory audience pages. There's a ton of different examples in there that are kind of cool. But let's think if you're an affiliate, right? So your product category, or even your product page. Let's say we're just going to go with your page, your product page. Some things you can do is informational would be the affiliate's name, right? And then transactional, buy, bonus, review online, and then navigational. Maybe not so much navigational unless you have a decent sized website that can compete with some of those brand names. But you can do this with affiliate or whatever. It's again, this is probably in the layout that it is right now a great setup for just starting out with an e-com site. But go to that sheet that I made or I showed you in the topic clusters, get a keyword, Cupid report, or make your own. And I think you're going to get a little bit more out of that because you'll be able to put together your mind maps, mapping out your site structure based off of your topic clusters, and then going down in your topic clusters and your keyword clusters to make a whole lot. That'll make everything a whole lot smarter of a process for you, in my opinion. So check this out. Not bad information, but could be a little bit more useful for local people. Okay, so next one is understanding the magic behind Google's price drop results. This is from Brody Clark. It's Brody Clark Consulting. He's got decent content over there. I don't know if you noticed it, but what Google is doing in some of the things is saying, putting a typically price inside of the featured or the snippet, the rich snippet inside of the search results. I don't know if this is really a good thing or a bad thing. Like from a consumer perspective, if you are, let's say you're buying this Roomba and the price on the page is $800. And then Google rats out, and I say rat because it's coming from the consumer perspective, rats out the business, says, hey, look, they raised the price up. It's $400 and before it was like, I don't know, or it's $800 now before it was $400. In this case, it's $400. Typically, is $576. But where is the information coming from? And Google says that it's going to be from structured data, right? And I don't really see in his example, and I didn't see any in the examples in the results saying that the price structure is actually coming from structured data. So if you write structured data and you change the price again, where is that coming from? Like, and he's got some examples in here, et cetera, that kind of highlight the same question that I have is if you don't say that this price is typically, here's one, Philips Advent Natural is $8.79, is typically $11. If you don't say in Schema that it's typically $11, where are they getting that from? Are they doing all the prices and they're gathering all that price information, figuring out the averages, and then putting that in there and saying, look, this is typically $11. These sites have it for $8.79. So where did the $11 come from? Who's messing it up, etc. And this also it's kind of a race to the bottom, right? For a lot of things. If, for example, let's go do page speed optimization. If I do page speed optimization, and I'm going to just kind of throw this out there, like for $4.97, I'll optimize your WordPress website for $4.97. And then the average price everywhere else is $197. Is Google going to show that there, or are they going to show a block that says 197 to 497 is the average? That's not really sure. It's not in the documentation, but it would be really interesting to see if they go through that whole process. I'm not sure. Like from the consumer side of me, I'm happy with this. From the marketer side, I'm not entirely sure what they're going for. But then again, more consumers click on ads than more marketers, so that makes sense that Google would do this. I just think it would be a fair way for marketers and business owners to kind of lead that in there. And if you're always going to have a price, like especially if you're doing sales, like a Black Friday thing, and your price is typically $11 and you dropped it to $9, you should be able to say that versus the price competing with other dealers or other people who are selling that product. So definitely something to check out. I'd check out this article from Brody. It's really good, really well written, and just kind of makes you add some questions. Hey, JS, how you doing? Thanks for watching. Okay, just make sure that's still showing. Sweet. All right, so this one is when and how to disavow backlinks. I recently released a couple of videos on creating a disavow file, and I did an update on that video. I did another video to kind of update as well. So check those out. What I kind of wanted to point out here is just kind of his process of going through it, and he's got this cool little flow chart and stuff. And I actually kind of agree with this, right? So it's either, make a judgment call at the end of the day, make a judgment call, or be a little bit proactive and do the disavow thing. So, and then there's the option for don't disavow, right? So the standard recommendation that I always gave considering the disavow file is if you don't have a manual penalty yet, don't do the disavow file. There's no need for it. Then I had to kind of change my tune a little bit because I saw a negative SEO attack on Digitaleer. You guys know I talk about my agency site all the time. I use that site for case studies. I've built a over-the-shoulder training for SIA for it. And inevitably, when you do that, there's some asshole that decides they want to negative SEO your website. And so what happened was that site had a whole bunch of backlinks from a network that, in my estimation, is probably coming from a competitor in the WordPress speed optimization space. If you all remember, when page speed became important to people. Before that, I was selling page speed optimization services. As a matter of fact, I was probably one of the only ones doing it. That's a little egotistical, for sure, but I think there's probably maybe 2 or 3 people that I know of that were actually doing it, but no one was really marketing it, and no one was certainly trying to rank for it. It was page speed optimization, and there was only a couple of players. Well, now there's a whole bunch of people. People realize that it's a good gig. WordPress page speed optimization in and of itself is not hard. 90% of it is at the host level, meaning buy a good host, and there you've taken care of 90% of the problem. And the rest of it is setting up a cache plugin and image optimization plugin, and you're off to the races with a good site. Sure, there's some stuff for PHP. You can update your PHP. You can clean your databases and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, WordPress optimization is buy a good host, get a caching plugin, and optimize your images. That's WordPress optimization. Don't let anyone tell you any different, right? So what this trunk monkey did was create a link network, and most of it is from India domains. And they built links from those Indian domains in content that is, at the end of the day, it's not like the best content, let's be fair. But if the domains were actually halfway decent and the anchor text wasn't exact match or some stupid variation, then I might have actually got a benefit from it. But what happened is I didn't build backlinks to Digitaleer because I do keep it public, and then inevitably there's a narc SEO out there everywhere that loves just taking people down because God forbid someone ranks ahead of them, so they do that narc SEO crap just so they can feel smarter. So I don't typically build backlinks to Digitaleer, and because I don't do that, you'll see that those exact match and partial match bad links from India actually resulted in a drop in the page. Long story short, I ended up doing couple videos showing you the disavow process and how I do it. Had I been more proactive in paying attention to my link profile, I probably would have caught that earlier, and I could have kept up with it with the disavow file, and I wouldn't have had the effect that it had. The effect was dropping the page from page 1. It was like number 10, I think, all the way to number 30. Actually, it went all the way down to like 60. Then I did the disavow file and came back to 30. I updated the disavow file with new links, and it's roughly sitting around 30. So the disavow file recovered 20th to 30th positions for me, but the damage is done, and it's not going to return it unless I start building backlinks to that page. So the lesson there is do disavow files and just stay up to date and proactive with what you're doing. You don't have to be, buying a link research tool subscription for $1,000 a month and plugging those in there, but you can just stay a little bit proactive, find some of the nasty stuff. Inevitably, we all get a little nasty stuff as we're walking around through the internet. Just think of it that way, and you can keep that up to date, and it just gives another signal to Google, hey, this website has a disavow file. They're taking care of their link profile. And you're less likely to get some algorithm drama when you have that disavow file in place protecting you a little bit. So check this article out. Go check out those other 2 videos that I created. They're posted on the YouTube channel. And show you the disavow file and what I do to get the disavow file recrawled. Again, you don't have to have link research tools, but link research tools really makes all this stuff helpful. There are disavow tools now in Majestic, Ahrefs, SEMrush, and according probably Moz too. But at the end of the day, don't rely just on one of those services. You have to max them up. For mine that I just created, we started off with SEMrush, then we went to Ahrefs and Majestic and combined the disavow files from all 3 of those tools. There's going to be some overlap. If you do it in link research tools, again, it's pretty expensive. But there's 22 different sources, plus you can input your own sources from Majestic, Ahrefs, Moz, and Search Console and stuff, and get the best disavow file possible. And then there's a tool called Link Detox Boost, and essentially what it's doing is the same thing that I'm doing with co-linkery in my videos and getting those backlinks recrawled so that the disavow file is actually applied to the page that it's being pointed at. So there's that. Any questions on it? I don't see no questions popping up. Good. Topic of the day. Do citations still matter for local SEO? And I'm going to scroll down here. I want to see his conclusion. And I'll be honest, I'm going to be really totally up for debate. There you go. That's it. It's totally up for debate. So here's my stance. So Darren says it's totally up for debate, and really I kind of disagree. So and I've always disagreed with some of the things that people are saying about citations and etc. Because most of that information was designed to not necessarily get you ranked. It was designed to tie your business name to an address in so much as so that when it was tied to the address, you ranked higher for the maps. That's where the name, address, phone number, or NAP became a popular coin term to drop around everywhere, right? And let me stop this off so you guys can see my happy face. There we go. So you have this term NAP. So we started building citations, and really what was it? It was directories, right? So you can either go out and pay Bright Local, Whitespark to build them manually. You can teach a virtual assistant to do it. You can get a Fiverr gig, or you can go pay Yext. And now you can pay SEMrush, which pays Yext, and you get it a lot cheaper. and at the what we were doing was getting in those directories, and we were building citations because everyone told us to, and we needed to do it for rankings, and ultimately the number one lure was we needed to. I was chasing a fly. We need to actually go and get the maps ranked, and that's what the NAP was for, right? So, and then there became this differentiator: structured citations and unstructured citations. The only difference between the two is an unstructured citation does not have a backlink to your website. The theory behind that going is you can go out and publish a whole bunch of content and then put your address in there, and you get an unstructured citation that Google reads and associates with your address and kind of helps prove your legitimacy. I don't know if those worked or not. I've never did a test between structured and unstructured, in particular for the maps, because I never saw citations really help my maps. What citations are doing now and then, in my opinion, are getting your entity established. And by entity meaning you're saying, hey, Google, here's my business. There goes my phone. Here's my business, and I want you to acknowledge it as a real business. And then you get the knowledge graph, and you get the machine readable ID number, and all that stuff. And now your business is an entity, person, place, thing, entity. And the citations actually help you do that. They help you do that a lot. There's some added benefits of knowing how to rank those citations, not only in Google, but within those platforms themselves. If you can do that, you you generate leads, traffic, and sales, right? But there's not enough time spent inside of those sites to actually figure out the process. I know some people that say I can rank my listings in Yelp all day long, and that's great. If you can figure that out, if you really want to make a little bit of short-term money, just and pay off of that, teach a little course: how to rank in Yelp, how to rank in Yellow Pages, how to get number one in Super Pages, and so all that to say is, at the end of the day, citations do matter. But are they more than just NAPs? Are they more than entity establishment? And I would argue that yes. Most of those citations sites had no follow backlinks. When Google changed the official announced rules on no follow, and after our testing, we know that no follow is passing link juice. Maybe not always the same amount of link juice that a do follow post or link will follow, but Google is still using them. They're saying it themselves. They're using it as a hint. The testing has shown that they are passing juice through them. Testing has shown you can pass tier 1 juice through them, etc. So I still say that you should be doing these. Even if you don't get traffic and stuff from them, you should be doing them for the backlinks, and you should be doing them for the entity establishment, saying this is a real thing, this is a real business. The NAP stuff, name, address, phone number, doesn't necessarily always have to be 100% on point. As long as it's really the logo, Google Lens is reading that, and it's or Vision, whatever they're calling it these days. I'm pretty sure it's still Lens. At least it is on my phone. They're reading that, and they know that the logo is associated with your brand after they see it plenty of times, and the two put together. And the NAP stuff hasn't really played a part in rankings beyond associating with cities and stuff like that, if you want to do that. So if you have some bad stuff and you have some bad NAP, it's not necessarily something that you have to go update right now. It's going to help you rank better. It's not going to. But it could be conversions on that website to address. For me, the important thing is those backlinks and the entity establishment. Now, I've already talked about entities, so let's go with the backlink thing. Is you're creating mostly new no follows. Talked about that. You can use those as tier 1s. So if you're in a game where you have to be really, really careful because there's a lot of narc SEOs in your market, then you should be using those tier 1s as buffers. and you should be building out the brand network, and that will, and you do that. Part of that is the citations, and you can send your link juice and your link building methods to those citation sites that can take it a little bit more, a little more understandable, and they will pass that juice through, even though it's a no follow link to your website. As a side note, if it's a sponsored link, it's not going to pass juice. Don't waste your time. But if it's a no follow link, it'll pass juice. And so, there's still some uses for the citation stuff. I think every business should be on sites like Yelp and Super Pages, etc., because there's still people using them. There may not be a lot of people on directory sites anymore. There may not be a lot of people using Yellow Pages anymore, but there's still people using it. Don't let people fool you to think that they're not. I'm a digital marketer and I still pick up a phone book every once in a while. It may be every once in a great while, but there's still people using these things, and the Yelps and all those citation sites are still essentially the digital Yellow Pages, and a lot of those pages are still ranking well in Google. Not as much as sites like Home Advisor and Angie's List, who claim to be doing contractor checks and all that other stuff, and that have unwritten agreements with Google, be my guess, on why those are ranking higher and than everyone else's, despite the fact that there's no local businesses in the search results. But necessarily, those aren't typically normal citations that anyone would get anyway. So I don't know. It's all think about it. I would do citations. I was just told the other day that the ones you can get from SEMrush, which is Yext reseller package, are $20 a month, I believe. I haven't looked into it, but $20 a month for Yext is a no-brainer. Throw your clients in there, do some updates. Maybe you get some other features. I'm not sure if they have the full duplicate depression and adding videos like you can get if you're a Yext reseller yourself. But it's definitely worth it, especially if you're doing some client work and stuff like that. Those are easy deliverables to get punched out. If you're doing this stuff for your own business, it's an easy task to get done, and it's $20 a month. I mean, you spend more than that on coffee. So why not get the backlinks, authority, dimensions, and all that stuff kicked out from your citations? All right, so answered the question. Do citations still matter for local SEO? Yes. All right, let's see. And we'll just close it out with questions from the audience. Elton Musa. So would you build citations and give a GMB for affiliate sites to building out an entity? There's some untested claims that if you have a GMB that is tied to a location for your affiliate site, you could potentially tie that into that location and your traffic will go down. And there's honestly, Bill Harcher's the only one that I've seen say that. I haven't seen any proof one way or the other. I do know that Ted Kubitis ran a test on his. The traffic didn't go up or down, as far as I understand, whether he had the map or not. I believe his traffic was actually higher when he had the map, and he wasn't in the physical location. So that's essentially what you're doing with the affiliate thing. I would probably lean more towards the citations to a corporate office. I wouldn't mess with the maps, especially if it's an affiliate play, because the way affiliate sites should probably be made are not locale anyway. So, I mean, you could try the map, and you'll kick in a entity a little bit faster, for sure. But I mean, it's just how much is work to keeping that map alive and all that stuff. If you get into a competitive affiliate market. You got the map, you get the entity and all that stuff, and then some goombah comes and gets your map taken down for you. You got to start all over, where you could have just did it with citations and some branding sites on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram, and you'd have been all right. Gene Pappas, I only use citations so that when you Google the business, the first 2 pages are about the business. Yep, it's branding. That's a branding play. It's also a preemptive reputation management play. If you get all those in place and you get them all supported with backlinks and stuff, it keeps a lot of the reputation management noise out of there, and saves a lot of things, a lot of issues. Let's see. Same goes with geotagging images. I don't do geotagging much more because most sites these days are just ripping it out anyway. Um, there's an argument to be made that like Google rips out for all of their products. Um, they only have, I think there's only 1 or 2 of their products where they keep it in there anymore. But for the most part, they rip it out of all the products. And then there is an argument to be made is, oh, well, they read it first. If they're ripping it out, I don't see any reason why they would waste resources reading it. So unless your website, in your case, your specific website does not use image optimization that rips EXIF data, you would put it on your website. We've done some testing on that, and it didn't move the needle one way or the other. Certainly something that has to be retested again. If you're putting EXIF data on there so you can upload it to Google Posts and Google Photos, I think Google Photos keeps it. I think that's the service that they have that keeps it. It used to be Palmetto or some craziness like that. They deleted that service. But I'm pretty sure Google Photos keeps it. If you're putting it in your Google GMB photos, you're putting it in GMB posts, it's all ripped out. It's all ripped out. Let's see. Yeah, so Gene said like he's not much benefits from what he's seen. It's true. There's not. There are sites that keep it. Flickr is a good one. Pinterest I haven't tested yet to see if they're keeping it. What else? And there's a small amount of them that keep it. Most of the professional photographer image share type sites, they'll keep it because they use that EXIF data to kind of highlight and keep track of their images and all that stuff. Let's say JS. At the end of the day, it's all about relevancy and establishing trust. Citation will build that, and when combined with schema, that's gold. Bingo, right there. Yeah. Enough said. Sam, what are your thoughts on content versus links competition? In your opinion, which would win? I'm assuming you're talking about the one over at SEO Signals Lab. I don't go in there very often anymore unless I'm tagged, just because if they, their moderators are on the woke path. So if you say anything that they disagree with, or they get your post removed, or if you point out things that their moderators or their friends of the moderators are doing that isn't totally wrong, they'll remove your post. So that said, I don't go in there all that often. I have seen some screenshots from my mastermind. Those guys were talking about it a little bit. I've seen some of the work that the on-page guy was doing. I guess Kyle Rufus helping them out with that, and they created their silo structure and all that stuff for them. It's interesting, competition versus links. I have shown an instance where I ranked a page with just the content optimization. With my content optimization process, I rank generally well just doing content without links. But anything with real competition, i.e. a real SEO, they're working with and competing against you. It's been my experience that you're not going to do it with just content alone. So, but that being said, who am I to say that a competition is not worthwhile? It's definitely worthwhile. You can learn some cool things. You learn some, especially if they document it properly and show what they did and how they did it. then I say go for it. Why not have a competition, right? Who do I think will win? My guess is it's probably going to be the links guy. Assuming that the links guy knows what he's doing or she's doing with the anchor text selection, that page is going to win. Because there's nothing in there that says, from what I understand from the screenshots, there's nothing in there that says that the links guy can't optimize his page. Title tag, headings, keyword density. From my understanding, none of that's not in there. And he's going to have that basic SEO combined with the links. And if he's smart, anchor text, they're going to win. What about schema injection into images? It only works if the site does not mess with the image. If the site rips out any of the metadata, any of the IPC data, does any of the optimization, all that's ripped out. Even if you're using a hex code inject image, if you alter that image in any way, the hex code of the injected schema or article or whatever it was all gets ripped out. I've tried it on like 30 different plugins to see if I can get it optimized while keeping all that stuff in there, i.e. the schema or a hex injection. It doesn't work. It all gets ripped out. Hey, Clint, do you think it's important to be mindful of link velocity? Is that a real thing? And if so, how do you decide how many links to make a build per month? You know, I was just thinking about this today, Jeff, and that's an interesting question. This question is from Jeff Meakin, by the way. Link velocity. For those who don't know, the concept is if you link velocity is the pace at which you build backlinks. What no one's been able to articulate or say is it the pace at which you build backlinks, is that your true link velocity, or is it the pace at which Google finds your backlinks? And anyone who's been doing SEO for more than a day knows that those are not anywhere close to each other. So if I build 100 links today, and Google finds my links at an average of 5 links a day, then my link velocity is 5 links. Right? And so that threw me off. So your link velocity is 5. And I've built and I'm currently building a couple sites right now and building links to them using automation tools, using link building tools. And I'm not going to tell you how I'm doing it, other than to say that I'm using link automation tools that are supposedly don't work anymore. And this tool was it's GSA, but I'm building them in certain ways with certain settings inside of GSA. And I'm ranking like gangbusters. Like every 3 days, the websites go up another 3%. Positive in a market that is extremely competitive. And I'm doing 500 of these websites, and I'm seeing this consistently a 3% growth rate every 2 days. And as y'all know, there's been an update recently, and it works through that. The link velocity on those is roughly 100 to, plus or minus 20% based off of the error rate of the tool per URL. So, but what is my actual link velocity that Google's running? My force is anything with PR. I got to have a measurement, so it might as well be PR. In GSA, it's got to be PR. It's based off of the Yandex thing, and it's kind of an equivalent, supposedly. I doubt it, but, that's what we got. The ones with PR 1 and above, I'm forcing a re-index or a recrawl with co-linkering. So Google knows those, and roughly 20-30% of those are probably recrawled. If that. It's not very many. Scraping lists with sites that allow or that GSA can still do, it's a little bit harder, right? So the link velocity in there potentially could be 30 or 40 links a day because I'm forcing Google to go see those backs. If I didn't do that, my link velocity would be limited to the amount of recrawls and acknowledgement of backlinks on other people's websites versus how many links I built today. And that's kind of the conundrum of link velocity and how you should do it. I personally, when I'm building out really good links, I'll go 10 at a time, see what happens, 10 more, see what happens, 10 more. The most I've ever done at one time in really good links is 20, just because I'm kind of in a hurry. I know that it's going to be at least 40 to 60 links at least before I start seeing anything, so I might as well build out 20 at a time, and that's kind of my standard link philosophy. But short of that, I don't necessarily think link velocity matters unless you're forcing reindexing and recrawling. And then you got to be a little bit more cognizant of what you're doing. Let's see. Sean Wright, 31 minutes after you start streaming, YouTube tell me you're streaming live. That's awesome. Stupid notification button. In YouTube's defense, Sean, I did just I started it and go. There was no music, no introduction, etc. like normal. Let's say JS. I'm playing with Flex Hex. You can inject JavaScript payload into pixels. JSON is JS, so it should work. Just can't figure out how to trigger Google tool to read it. If I have to look at FlexX. As a matter of fact, let me just open it. FlexX. Okay, this is the editor. Cool. So inject the payload. JSON works. I can tell you for a fact that it works. Can't figure out how to trigger Google to read it. The problem is wherever you're uploading it, they're altering the hex code. I could actually show people how to do this. However, it's a hack essentially that was used years ago to inject malware into images and then send that malware to unsuspecting victims. So I'm not going to teach it because there are a-holes out there. You can figure it out yourself. It's a relatively simple hack, but it's one that's pretty much taken care of. So that being said, wherever you upload that image, it absolutely cannot alter that image in any way. If it does, it'll rip that schema right out of there. It'll rip the schema, the article, whatever you put in there. If it alters it in any way, it's gone. So you can't upload it to WordPress. If you have a image optimization plugin in there, you can't do it if you have one that resizes images for placement on your website. You have to upload it for the exact time you need, and then you can upload it to AWS. And you don't have to use an iframe. You load it directly from the image of the place. And then you could put that onto Schema, the Schema testing tool, and it will read it. You don't have to even use the iframe part. You can just put the Schema testing tool, the image actual URL in AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, and it will, the Schema testing tools will read it. You cannot put it anywhere else that alters that image in any way. If it alters it in any way, it's gone. It's a waste of time. So my recommendation for you is just probably stick with AWS Cloud Stacks and use those images in there if you want to test to see if it's worth your time or not. A lot of people that have taught me that method or have talked about it have said that it works. I want to do some testing on it. I don't want to teach how to do it just because it could be used for evil. But it's, at the end of the day, anything can, right? So I'm probably going to go through with the test and show it off and see if it'll actually do any good. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. You wanted to upload to competitors GMB with a link. Yeah, that's not gonna work. As I just said, Google strips EXIF data. It'll optimize the image. It'll change the image, and it'll be gone. So that won't work. Like, save your time. Save you right now. Save you some time right now, JS. That is not gonna work. It gets stripped. The most you could do with someone else's GMB, and really, I don't know why you would want to mess with someone else's business like that, is do something like Holly Starks was talking about, where you can use adult photos and then she put an overlay over the adult photos, making them opaque. So Google sees the adult photo, but whoever is looking at the actual image doesn't see the adult photo, and then they penalize the GMB for that. I know that was actually being a taught method to a bunch of people. And what really sucks about it is, one, as a business owner, you won't know it's there. You'll see this weird image and be like, what the hell? And you won't understand it, and you can't delete it because it's a quote unquote customer thing. So you got to reach out to Google and hope that maybe they'll get around to removing it, which is it sucks. That's a really crappy thing for people. All right, let's see. And that's it. Looks like there's no more questions. Thank you all for joining me. It's 46 minutes, a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I think it worked out. We got some good questions. I appreciate you all, as always, keeping me entertained here. Next week, I got to buy the phone number. I got the cord, so I just got to get the phone number. I'm going to do some tests with my buddies and see if I can get the call feature working on my Rode Podcaster Pro, and then we're gonna start doing the call-ins, live show call-ins. That's gonna be really, really cool. And based on doing that, we'll see how it works, and the level of interest into it. But the podcast and everything is gonna be probably 2 hours long. But I'm probably gonna do it every other week. Just so that everyone who has the opportunity to call wants to. We'll see how that works. We'll see if the call volume picks up, and we'll see how that goes for like the interest. Like, this is something new. Never tried it before. The whole live call in, hey, you're on the air thing. So if it works out, then I'll go all in, and we'll spend 2 hours so that everyone gets the opportunity, regardless of where you're at. I know some people will start their day in Australia listening to the show. I know other people in Europe close out their day listening to the show. So I want to make it as best as possible that people can call in. Europe and Australia, obviously not too sure about international phone calls. It might be a little expensive. Maybe we can plug in. I can do something with Skype in that case, so that you can call in via Skype or something like that, just to save you some money. Or the voice over internet protocol or whatever. Yeah. So I'll get some people in Europe, and we'll try to figure out the pricing and all that stuff so that it makes it better. Why am I doing that? One, you guys know I occasionally pimp my own shit on the website, on the show, but mostly I just want to help people out. And two, I want to have a show that's actually useful to you all, right? So if it's useful to all of you, you'll keep coming back, and eventually maybe you want some help, and you want to pay for me to do the work for you, or you want to pay for some consulting time. That all benefits me. And on the flip side of that, I'm just not here flapping my gums like the rest of the talking heads in the SEO industry, telling you what you should do when in generalities, when we can actually just talk about your website. And you don't have to come in here and say, hey, this is my website, this is my URL, and all that stuff. Find an example website that's kind of doing the same things like yours, and we can go over it and look at that one, or we can talk about that one, and you can get your questions answered in a cool way that's a little bit less, more personal than the videos, probably even better than the webinars and that kind of stuff. And You don't have to show up with all kinds of cool technology and turn on your webcams and all that madness. You just dial a phone number. So we will, again, I'll get that figured out. Phone numbers or Skype. I can do both. I can actually have you call in Skype, and I can record or push you through the road through my computer. So that won't be a problem either. So that's it. Appreciate all y'all, and I will see you next week.